We've all seen Fallout 4 modded videos, like it's Jabo's Fallout 4 but every time I die I install a new mod. Kevduit's Fallout 4 but it's destroyed by mods. And of course, CallmeKevins' massive stack of modded Fallout 4 videos. But in my opinion, none of those videos go far enough. So today, I have embraced complete and total insanity and have collected as many of the mods in those videos that I could find and will be attempting to beat the ultimate Fallout 4 modded challenge. Now, if you're familiar with modding Fallout 4, you might be wondering how I got all these mods to work in the first place. And the answer is, I didn't. To get the game to work, we lost some mods along the way. Some good ones didn't make it. We lost the Todd Howard Moon Replacer, Gamer Girl Bathwater, Nicolas Cage paintings, Loving Piper, and many, many more. But 339 mods remain on the load order, and hopefully most of them are actually working in game. So now it is time to begin. And right off the bat, the game says that it's crashed when I open it, which is a lie because the game works perfectly fine. And the main menu has this weird guy talking in the background, which is strange, but hopefully when we get into the game, things will be more normal. And well, the word normal doesn't exactly apply here. I have no idea what's going on with the character creator. It's just a lot. But I did my best to make some kind of kooky little character to play with and made sure to give him a tail for good measure. When I finished with the character creation, the game gave me the option to wake up from this sick dream, and that's something I'm very interested in. So I did that and spawned in an alternate start room. The Pip-Boy is a problem. Just a problem. I have no further commentary on it. It's just not right. There is something deeply, deeply wrong with it. And after looking at that, I told the computer that it should give me a random backstory, then came to building my character. I decided to name him Consequences, which is short for the consequences of mankind's hubris, because that is exactly what this game has become. I didn't put too much thought into my special stats because I have no idea what the game's about to throw at me, so I don't really know what kind of build I need, so it was pretty random. And with that done, I entered the Wasteland. And if I had to sum up my first impressions of the Wasteland in one word, that word would be sensory overload. So much of everything is pink. Everything else has 11 pixels. The text-to-speech narration is narrating. It's just a lot to take in. But I've got a main quest to complete, so I pulled up my Pip-Boy, and in a turn of good news, there are some locations on the map that I can fast travel to straight away. So I picked a location right next to Diamond City, and well, unfortunately, almost every enemy in the game explodes when it dies. And there was quite a big explosion here, which sounded just lovely, and I actually survived it. But my legs don't work anymore, so I can't run away, and I can't kill these dogs, because if I do, it'll just start another explosive chain reaction. So after the dogs eventually killed me, I was planning to fast travel somewhere different this time around, to avoid the whole exploding dogs thing. But I accidentally stole this Nuka-Cola, so now a bunch of robots want to kill me, and that means it's time to run away. On my run, I found a Mirelurk and started bullying it, but it had a lot of friends, so they started bullying me, so I decided to just keep running until I discovered this bunker, which leveled me up, because for some reason discovering locations gives me 84 XP. And it's not just discovering locations that gives me way too much XP, everything gives heaps of XP now, and you won't believe the level that I get up to by the end of this challenge. Then I decided to just fast travel to the same location that blew me up earlier, and this time around things actually went a lot better, and I made it to the gates of Diamond City. I got them to open the gates by detonating a little puppy dog at their front door, and I'm pretty optimistic going into Diamond City. The Wasteland might look all messed up, but surely it won't be as bad inside Diamond City, and I was half right. It wasn't nearly as bad as the overworld in there. It was a lot worse. Forget pink and low res textures, we just don't really have any textures in here. But I have played a fair bit of Fallout 4 in my times, so I was able to navigate around pretty decently. I found a Pegasus, and when I tried to talk to it, all I said was, "The little old Mirelurk looks at you questioningly." So that's not particularly helpful. So I just went to check out the detective's office, because in that dream I woke up from earlier, I'm pretty sure I had a child, and if I had a child, I bet they got kidnapped. So I need someone to do some detecting to track them down. Unfortunately, the door to the detective's office led me to an infinite loading screen. After restarting my game, I decided to wander around the city a little bit more before trying the door again, and I discovered that I just say, "The little old Mirelurk looks at you questioningly" to everyone. I can talk to Piper though, so this seems to be a situation where I can only speak when someone speaks to me first. And that means that I can't do things like buying and selling items and also starting conversations at all, which is definitely not going to make things any easier. And when I tried the door to the detective agency again, it hit me with another infinite loading screen. And I'm pretty sick of this whole Diamond City thing at this point, so I decided to do some exploring and hopped into a vertibird sitting outside the city and was taken up to an airship. And from this airship, I traveled to the Hindenburg, and true to form, that ended in disaster. I went down some stairs, which sent me to Nuka World, which crashed my game. Fortunately, there's another vertibird here in Nuka World that can take me back to the Hindenburg. And this whole airship thing is starting to freak me out a bit already, so I found a vertibird to take me to Sanctuary Hills to try taking a more traditional approach to this playthrough for a little while. The whole traditional thing got thrown out the window pretty quickly when a wicked dust serpent started attacking me, which I defeated before investigating the town. And in my imaginary dream child's bedroom, I found a couple of interesting weapons: the Fist of the North Shorn and the baby launcher. Both of them seem really good and really interesting, but the ammo for the baby launcher is shit, and I don't know where to find shit, and I can't buy it because I can't buy anything, so I'll just be sticking to the fist-mounted baby. I wandered over to Vault 111 towards the sound of gunfire, where I found a couple of meat thugs, and after I pummeled them with the child, I looted their heads, creatively named Meat and Mini-Meat. And putting that on, I have become a meatworm, and being a meatworm is something I personally view to be a massive improvement over my previous face situation. So I'll be wearing the meatworm hat for pretty much this entire playthrough, and putting it in the thumbnail for this video, because I find being a meatworm far more important than something silly like a helmet. And with my meat helm collected, it is time to go out into this godforsaken wasteland to get some work done. At Red Rocket, I found Dogmeat, who, instead of a dog, is a kid named Oliver. There's also a little old Mirelurk lurking in the background, so that's probably got nothing to do with anything. And when I moved on to Concord, it was a little overwhelming. You can see what's going on here with the armless horde and giant robot. I don't really need to explain it further than that, but I do need to try to fight it. And while I was fighting, I discovered that rad roaches are actually completely normal. One of the few things in my game that are exactly as they should be. Once I'd cleared out all the enemies outside and headed inside the Museum of Freedom, things were super easy. The raiders are called anti-vaxxers and are wearing bee costumes, and the good thing about that is that they don't explode when I kill them. And I also have my super strong modded weapons like the Fist of the North Shorn, so outside of the sensory assault of how everything in here looks, things weren't too hard. But Preston, I could barely even see Preston. He's so tiny, look at him. He's just a tiny little guy, little tiny man. This is exactly what anyone watching this video that's below 5'6" looks like, just in case you were wondering. After talking to Preston, I was just gonna head up to the roof for power armor, but the door to the roof ended up handing me a lovely platter full of nothing but infinite loading screens. So instead of that, I'm just gonna go out the front door and fight the raiders without power armor. And I was able to one-punch all of the raiders with my sweet little child. Macho Claws, I wasn't able to kill Macho Claws in one punch, but it didn't take many punches. So with him gone, all of the hostiles are cleared out, and I let Preston know that all of the hostiles are cleared out. As soon as I left the museum, I came across a big robot. But this isn't just a big robot. This is a big mech that I can drive. So I hopped in and started walking across the wasteland in this mechanical menace. And I was able to cover a lot of distance very quickly in this thing. And I went all the way to the Boston Common on this robot, because there's a robot detective over here who I kinda need to save. As soon as I was about to enter Park Street Station though, a new quest popped up called Can We Keep It? And the objective is simply to grab it. And that has me intrigued. So before I head into Park Street Station, I've got to investigate this new quest. I followed the quest marker to a beach where I found Kirby, but I can't talk to him because I can't talk to anyone. But I swear, I will find a way to be able to talk to Kirby, and I will grab it, as the quest says. But I don't know how to do that right now, so I went and got launched into the stratosphere by Swan, then went down into Park Street Station to get Nick Valentine. Getting to Nick wasn't an issue. The triggermen don't explode, and the Fist of the North Shorn is still absolutely busted and takes them all out in one hit, so the combat wasn't anything too difficult. Nick though, Nick isn't a robot, or he's a robot that is doing a way better job of looking human than he usually does. I'm not quite sure which of these it is, but the game lets me talk to him, so maybe human Nick is good enough. And the fight out of Vault 114 was just as easy as the fight in, and at the end of the vault, Skinny Malone and his friends all have Preston Garvey's face, so to avoid any confusion, I removed all of their faces, then went back to the surface with Nick, taking Skinny with us of course, because I really value his contribution to the dynamic we've got going here, and don't want to just lose that. And on the surface, I decided to follow Nick back to Diamond City, because I'm not looking forward to trying to go through the door to the detective agency again. The whole infinite loading screen situation is not something I'm excited to go back to, so I'm kind of trying to prolong that as long as possible. And on the way to Diamond City, I stopped to fight against some average Facebook users, and in the middle of fighting them, I realized that Nick left without me, which is rude, and it also means there's no more delaying it. I've got to go fast travel back to Diamond City and try the door to the detective's office again. Didn't work, so I tried again, and this time it did work. So that problem is solved, but this whole infinite loading screen thing is a problem that won't go away for the rest of this challenge. Most doors in the game didn't work for me on the first try, and I had to restart my game well over 60 times by the end of this playthrough because of infinite loading screens. So the problem is still happening in the background, but I won't really talk about it from this point forward because I know that none of you are here to listen to me ramble on about doors for 40 minutes. Anyway, Detective Valentine used his detective skills to detect that we should investigate Kellogg's house, because there might be something that we can detect there, but I can't be bothered persuading the mayor to give me the key because I have like 2 charisma, and I can't talk to his assistant at all because of the whole little old Mylurk thing, so I just pickpocketed the key from McDonough and went into Kellogg's house to pick up a cigar. I don't need dog meat to track down Kellogg to Fort Hagen because I already know exactly where Fort Hagen is and exactly how to get there. But seeing as Dogmeat is a human child today, I gave him Kellogg's cigar anyway, just to see what happened. And something sure did happen. Not particularly sure what that something was, but it definitely did happen. And now it is time to journey to Fort Hagen. On my way, I fought a big monkey, and I love big monkeys. To this day, I'm not over how Godzilla vs. Kong went. I could make a whole video, like a long video, a comprehensive video, a beautiful video on how Kong should have won that fight. But I mean, I don't like it when big monkeys try to kill me, so I killed this particular big monkey and continued my journey. That was until I realized that I'm going the complete wrong way and had to turn around and start going the right way. In the correct direction, I ran across a whole pack of Yaguai, which was a bit sketchy because they explode when they die and I'm punching them, but we managed to avoid the explosions decently well, and after they were all dealt with, I came across some super mutants. But the super mutants are just orbs. They're just big blobby orbs, and big blobby orbs can't really attack me. They just yell at me angrily. So, I mean, I'm happy with that. It's just free XP. So I took out all the orbs and continued. And to be honest, all this combat isn't particularly hard. So I'm going to be making an absolutely huge play and changing the difficulty from very easy to easy. Feel free to congratulate me in the comments on this enormous move. And thanks to this new shotgun I found, the difficulty change doesn't really make things heaps harder, but it's definitely a little bit harder. When I was right outside Fort Hagen, I found a set of power armor, and I'm not usually super into power armor, but I think I'm going to try it out today, which wasn't a good idea because entering the power armor just crashed my game. When I relaunched the game though, and went into Fort Hagen, I honestly wouldn't have needed the power armor. It wasn't anything too crazy. The turrets in here explode, but fortunately the synths don't explode. So the whole explosion situation isn't too bad here. As I got deeper into the fort though, I found some synths have lightsabers. So that was a little bit concerning, like very concerning. But once I killed the first synth with a lightsaber, I discovered that lightsabers are kind of ass. I mean, it's alright, but compared to the Fist of the North Shorn, it just does not compete. Which sucks, because using a lightsaber probably would have been pretty fun, but doesn't do damage, I'm not using it. When I got to CallmeKevins, I wasted no time in absolutely deleting him with my shotgun, and cleaned up the last of his synths. Then I grabbed all of the meaty chunks that I needed out of CallmeKevins' head, and left Fort Hagen to watch the Pink Brotherhood of Steel arrive in the Commonwealth in their pink airship. And if everything goes to plan, I'm gonna spend a bunch of time up on that pink airship, because I'm planning to go with a Brotherhood of Steel ending today. Because in my Can You Beat Fallout 4 with 1,000 mods video, I went with the Institute. So I don't want to just do that again, and I really don't feel like doing the Railroad or Minutemen today. They're kinda just randoms, who even cares about them. Back at the detective agency, I let Nick and Piper know that I have CallmeKevins meat chunks, and they told me I need to go to the memory den to go swimming in those meat chunks. So I guess I'm going to the memory den now. On the way, all I did was take out a couple of super blobs for the free XP, then went into Good Neighbor, said hello to Hancock, and headed down to the basement of the memory den to do the memory sequence. It was amazing. I was just on my phone the whole time. It was pretty great. But right as it was about to end, I looked up and saw that something weird was up with Sean's head, and he teleported away before I could investigate. Fortunately, my game crashed when I tried to exit the memory sequence, so I have to do it again. And I got a better look at Sean this time, and his head is a rock with words on it, so that's cool. Honestly, doesn't make having to do the memory sequence twice worth it, but now I know that his head's a rock, so that's good. Our next task is to find Virgil in the glowing sea, and I can't buy a hazmat suit because I can't buy anything, but I had a look in Felon's basement anyway, and I found a weapon called the Anchor Shot Prototype. And trust me when I say that this weapon is an absolutely massive game changer. I went back to Sanctuary to test it out, and this thing is awesome. It shoots out an anchor that connects to stuff and then spawns a boat underneath me to pull me to wherever I shot the anchor. So traversing the wasteland is definitely going to be a lot easier and faster now that I have this thing. I still need something to deal with the rads in the glowing sea though, and I decided to try looking around Vault 111 for a vault suit that I can mod to be rad resistant. But I found something even better. This horizontal guy has a clean room suit, and a clean room suit is no hazmat suit, but it should be good enough. So I went over to the glowing sea and started making my way towards Virgil's cave. I can't talk to Mother Preston Garvey to get the quest marker for Virgil's cave because of the whole little old Mylurk thing, but that's fine because I know where it is. Unfortunately, the name of Virgil's cave had a little winky face next to it, and it doesn't have Virgil or his lab inside of it, and that's kind of a big deal. I need to talk to Virgil to continue the main quest line, and he's just not here, and I can't talk to Mother Garvey to find out what's going on. I need to get to the bottom of this before I can continue. So I opened up Fallout 4 Edit to see what mod was editing the interior cell for Virgil's laboratory, and our culprit is the Fallout 4 randomizer. So I went to its mod page to find out more, and it says that the mod makes two changes. It randomizes the location of Virgil's lab so that I have to talk to Mother Garvey to find it, and it also randomizes the password to the Railroad HQ. And the Railroad HQ thing will come to later, believe me. But the randomized Virgil location thing is a problem that we have to deal with now, because I can't talk to Mother Garvey at all because of the whole little old Mylurk. Now that I think about it, I seem to recall seeing a little old Mylurk over at Red Rocket, so maybe if I help her out, it will fix the problem. So I went back to Red Rocket to hear the little old Mylurk out. I spoke to the Mylurk and she gave me a map, but now I can't talk to her, and I checked at Drumlin Diner, and I just can't talk to anyone at all now. The mod that's putting the little old Mylurk in the game is the Grandma Mylurk Companion mod, and it is definitely the source of this problem. But I'm not just gonna delete the mod. That would be a step too far. If I did that, then we'd only have 338 mods. Downloading another mod though? I could get behind downloading another mod. And there's a patch mod for the Grandma Mylurk Companion that should fix this problem. So I installed that mod and went to Diamond City to see if it worked. And it did. I can talk to people now, which means I can buy things like a hazmat suit, ammo, and Ranaway, which is absolutely huge for this playthrough. And back in the glowing sea, I was able to talk to Mother Garvey and receive a quest marker to find Virgil. He was over here in this capsized factory being protected by a whole heap of rad scorpions and eyeless gnashes that I put to sleep in a kind and compassionate way by hitting them with a baby until they exploded. Unfortunately, Virgil is also afflicted by the being a little blob disease, just like the rest of the super mutants. But he can still talk, and that's all I need him to do. And he told me to go kill a Corsair, so I guess I'm just doing anything he tells me to. I went straight to Green Tech Genetics and started fighting through the gunners. And they're Spartans from Halo, and you might think that their Mjolnir armor would make them harder to kill, but luckily it's just a cosmetic skin, so I was able to absolutely stomp through them, all the way to the Corsair. I cleared this entire tower really quickly. And the Corsair was really hard to fight. One of the most difficult battles in my entire gaming career. But when he was finally defeated, I grabbed the sour cream and chives Corsair chip that I needed, and now I need to get it decoded, which requires a visit to the railroad. And as discussed earlier, the password is randomized, so I'm actually going to have to follow the Freedom Trail today and faithfully note down the combination to the door. And it was a real pain in the ass. I've never done this before, and I can tell you that it took absolutely ages to track down this password. But the thing is, when I finally finished collecting the password and got into the church to use it, I couldn't see the dial I need to put the password into. It's just a big grey brown circle. I sat there for a while trying to brute force it, but there are an absolutely huge amount of possible combinations, and I can't even see what I'm inputting. I even tried using speedrunning glitches to get into the Railroad HQ without using the door, but I'm no speedrunner, and I also have no idea if the glitch would even work while playing the game with this many mods. So unfortunately, the only course of action that I see to move forward is to use the console to no-clip through the door. I'm not happy about this at all, and I wish that there was another way. If you consider the challenge failed here, that's fair enough, but I'm going to be continuing anyway. In the Railroad HQ, I balanced some Abraxo cleaner on Tinkler Tom's head while he decoded the chip. Then I took the chip data to the glowing sea and delivered it to Orb Virgil, who gave me some schematics in return. And I could go ahead and build the molecular relay with the Minutemen over in Sanctuary, but seeing as I plan to sign with the Brotherhood anyway, I'm headed over to Cambridge Police Station to start their questline. And outside of the fact that I have to listen to these eyeless gnashes screaming chocolate at an absolutely immoral volume, clearing them out with the help of Buzz Lightyear wasn't a problem at all. And Buzz wants us to go to ArcJet Systems to get a thingamabob. So now I've got to walk all the way over there with him. The journey wasn't too crazy. I ran into a new enemy type called a Raider vehicle. That's definitely one of the more challenging vehicles I've found so far, but I was able to take it out without too much trouble. And inside ArcJet, it's just synths, nothing special going on here. It played out about the same as Fort Hagen did, but even easier. Deeper in the facility, Paladin Lightyear was hit by the rocket test fire, but he was fine because he's made of heat-resistant plastic, so he can shrug that kind of thing off. We then liberated the thingamabob from the robots and headed back to the police station to get on a vertibird and travel up to the Pink Pridwin. One problem though, I can't get on the vertibird. The prompt just isn't there. And if I can't get on the vertibird, then I can't continue the Brotherhood questline. And if I can't continue the Brotherhood questline, I can't get the Brotherhood ending. I tried reloading the game and I tried fast traveling away and coming back, but nothing seems to work. So now I'm gonna have to pick a different faction to side with. I don't want to do the Institute because I did that in the 1000 mods video. And I also don't want to do the Railroad because that whole door situation just upsets me. So I have to go track down miniature Preston Garvey and start doing Minutemen quests, because that's our last option. The first settlement that needs my help is Tempine's Bluff, and their task for me is to clear out all the raiders at Corvega Assembly Plant. There are a whole heap of raiders here, like way more than there usually are. Outside of the plant, even before I went inside, there was just an enormous quantity of them. They didn't pose the biggest threat because of my fancy modded weapons, but there were that many of them that I would say it just about evened out. And inside of Corvega, there are also way too many enemies. And that's a pattern that continues through every area that I clear out while doing Minutemen quests. There are just a super overinflated amount of enemies at every location, but I do definitely have the firepower to manage it, so yeah, it's pretty even. Anyway, I popped popped Jared's skull like a balloon and returned to Tempine's Bluff to finish off the quest. And I somehow managed to not squish Preston when I returned to him. He rewarded me for not squishing him by making me General of the Minutemen. And my first action as General is to command Sturges to build me a molecular relay. So he got me to build it instead. And honestly, I built it better than he ever could have and used it to teleport into the Institute. Once I was inside, I went straight down the elevators to have a chat with Sean. And he really is a lot like his father. He also speaks German and has a fucked up face. I love him very much. And I do plan to kill him later. So to be nice, I went ahead and met all of his Institute department head friends for him. And he wants me to go do some more stuff for him. But I'm not going to do that. So I returned to the Commonwealth to start helping out more settlements for the Minutemen. Fortunately, all I had to do was clear out the National Guard training yard for Greentop Nursery, which wasn't too difficult, and now Preston's told me that it's time to take back the castle. I did get killed very, very violently by some raiders on my way to the castle, but outside of that little mishap, the journey over to the castle went well. And at the castle, clearing out the first little chunk of lengthy Mirelurks wasn't an issue. But once they were gone, I couldn't find Preston. He's meant to be here for me to talk to, but he's not here. So I went and searched for him a little bit, and I found him. He's still running over to the castle. His legs are just so little, and it takes him a very long time to get anywhere. I watched him on his whole journey, and it took him 6 minutes to get where he needed to be, but he has now arrived. And our next task is to clear out some eggs. And my shotgun shoots explosive stuff, so it was able to take out entire clusters of eggs in one shot, which was really convenient. And when Mummy Mirelurk arrived, I took out most of her health with the last of the ammo for this overpowered as hell bolt gun that I just had and didn't mention until now, and finished off the fight by launching her into the air with my baby. And with the Mummy Mirelurk defeated, the castle is ours. And just as a little update, I'm now level 58. So when I said earlier that I'm earning a lot of XP, that was no exaggeration. But now I have to return to helping out settlements before I can continue. This time, I cleared out the raiders at Hyde Park, retrieved a locket for Blake Abernathy, then I captured the Croup Manor settlement, and when I went back to Sanctuary to turn in that quest, something amazing happened. I modded a bolt gun to deal 3,385 damage, which is just completely busted. And while ammo for this weapon isn't easy to come by, the bullets I do have for it should one-tap pretty much any enemy, so this will just be a wonderful thing to have in my arsenal. But now, I've got to go back to the Minutemen quests. I took over Starlight Drive-In from some mole rats, fought through a huge group of anti-vaxxers to rescue a kidnapped settler for Candy Crossing, just for the newly freed settler to walk into a landmine before I could get him back home. Then I secured Outpost Samonja, rescued a hostage from the Medford Memorial Hospital, and that was enough quests to start the next main part of the Minutemen questline. At the castle, I spoke to Ronnie Shaw and helped her out fighting through the tunnels underneath the castle, then set up some artillery that I will never and have never used. There's one problem that I have now though. I've played a lot of Fallout 4, and I've done just about everything there is to do in the game several times, so I don't really bother checking the wiki or anything before I make these videos. And I made a kind of big mistake during this playthrough. I completely forgot that to get the Minutemen ending, I need to be an enemy of the Institute. I just kept doing Radiant quests over and over for hours while being completely lost as to why the Defend the Castle quest wasn't starting. I did find quite a useful gun when I was doing all this though. Found a combat rifle that does 3,547 damage, which I don't need to tell you, that's a lot of damage. You know that's a lot of damage. And 45 caliber rounds are a lot easier to get than some weird bolt gun rounds. So this is definitely going to be my main weapon going forward. Unfortunately though, I didn't remember that I need to be an enemy of the Institute to do the Minutemen ending until after I finished this playthrough. So, for the second time this video, I'm switching which ending I want to go for, and we will now start working for the Institute. Our first task for them is to take back a rogue synth from Libertalia, and usually to do that I would have to fight through a whole heap of enemies, even more with all these mods. But courtesy of the anchor shot, I was able to zip past everyone on ground level and get straight up to the top of Libertalia. There were a few people and raider vehicles that I had to fight up here, but compared to what I was able to skip with the anchor shot, it was pretty insignificant. So I captured the synth for the glory of the technocracy and went back to the Institute to ask Father what our next move is. The next move is the Battle of Bunker Hill. And I did a lot of fighting on my way to Bunker Hill. There was so many stupid B-outfit anti-vaxxers around that I thought I would never make it to Bunker Hill. And I didn't make it to Bunker Hill. Because randomly while I was fighting enemies on this bridge, the quest objectives updated. And it's a little bit hard to read, granted, but the objective to speak to Sean is there. So I decided to give it a go and grappled up to the roof of the CIT ruins to speak to him. And it worked. I completed the Battle of Bunker Hill without even stepping foot in Bunker Hill. And with that done, I headed down to the Pink Room for a board meeting with Father, where he announced that he is dying. And after he's finished dying, I get to be leader of the Institute. So with any luck, he'll just hurry up and do the dying faster. Anyway, the next thing I need to do for the Institute is head over to Mass Fusion with Ellie Fillmore to grab a nuclear generator part for the Institute's nuclear generator. So I observed a slight elevator malfunction before relaying to Mass Fusion to get the beryllium agitator. And the whole thing only took me about 15 minutes. I can absolutely mutilate any and all Brotherhood members that try to stop me with one bullet from my combat rifle. So they're just not a challenge at all. But after I reached the reactor level and stole the radioactive doohickey, I have to deal with the security robots. And they were also one-taps. So yeah, this modded challenge thing is going really well. I mean, my eyes and ears they feel like they're on fire from the horrific assault on the senses that I've gone through playing the game like this. I'm not even joking when I say that when I went to bed after finishing this challenge, I closed my eyes and I started to see Fallout 4 texture clipping and errors and just the pink, all the pink. When I closed my eyes, all I saw was pink. Even sitting here recording this voiceover, I don't think I'm the same as I was before I started this challenge, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be the same again. Anyway, back at the Institute, Father gave me my next task. The Institute are trying to kidnap a new recruit, and those Minutemen guys that I was helping out earlier are making that a little bit difficult, and negotiations are for the weak. So I killed my old Minutemen friends and went into the house. And again, negotiations are for the weak. So I just got a synth to teleport into dearest T.S. Wallace's bedroom to take him away from his house a little bit more forcefully. Returning to Father, he has another task for me. I've got to quickly slam out a speech telling the Commonwealth that they're all doomed and the Institute is taking over and we're going to replace their kids with robots and whatnot. Then I had to reconfigure the Diamond City radio equipment to send this message out, and I can return to the Institute to turn on their nuclear generator and enter the final stages of the game. After a quick meeting where I was appointed new leader of the Institute, I was commanded to destroy the railroad, and I've been dreading this task for one simple reason. I have to no-clip through the door again, which hurts this time just as much as it did the first time, but it's done now, and I won't have to be going through that door any more times. Taking out the railroad was about as easy as you would have expected. My combat rifle just one-taps all of them, and I wiped out the entire faction in just about 25 seconds. And it would have been quicker than that if it wasn't for a slow-mo kill cam at the start, but I think it was still a pretty good time, all things considered. I took the back door out of Railroad HQ to avoid having to cheat again, and outside of the door there was a final group of anti-vaxxers for me to quickly kill off. And now it is time for me to return to the Institute and receive my final task. That final task is to destroy the Pink Brotherhood of Steel. So I talked through the plan with some scientists in advanced systems and headed over to the Boston airport to finally finish the game. And this was about as difficult as I'm sure you've come to expect things to be at this point. I went through and took out the generators as well as everyone guarding them with no real effort whatsoever, then went up to infect Liberty Prime with a big nasty virus to match his big nasty body. And I was using my combat rifle to take out the Brotherhood members trying to stop me faster than they could spawn in. I was literally waiting for more of them to spawn so that I had something to shoot at. But after a while of doing that, the virus did eventually finish uploading and I teleported away to watch the most impressive explosion that the game can muster at this point. Then I took my final level up, which brings my level to the grand total of 110. Now, to finish the game, I just have to go watch my poor concrete son perish, triggering the end cutscene and completing the game. But we're not quite done yet. There's one more thing I need to do. I have to go back and get Kirby. I hope you didn't think I forgot about him, and if you forgot about him, shame on you. Because I didn't forget about him, and I will be getting it. And getting it just meant having a brief little chat with Kirby and receiving a cute little Kirby bobblehead, which is a prize that makes everything I've gone through today worth it, and the challenge is now complete. I defeated the ultimate Fallout 4 modded challenge, unless you consider it failed from the no-clip thing. If you consider that, I just failed the ultimate Fallout 4 modded challenge. Thank you all so much for watching, and an extra special thanks to Insect Liquid for being a member on this channel. The support is greatly appreciated. I would also like to thank everyone who watched my Skyrim with only crafted items video. I'm so happy that so many of you got to enjoy it, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see what I do next, and I'll see you in the next one.